Elon Musk's net worth? $180 billion. The cost of a prom dress? $200. The value of kindness? Priceless. When the world's richest man showed up at the doorstep of a bullied teenager, money wasn't what made the difference. It was a simple act of human connection that set off a chain reaction, reaching far beyond that small town. This is the story of how one unexpected visit rewrote the ending for a girl who thought her story was already over. In the small town of Millbrook, where gossip traveled faster than the local Wi-Fi, Sarah Henderson stood out like a vibrant brushstroke on a blank canvas. Her bright blue hair and paint-splattered jeans were a stark contrast to the muted tones of her classmates. Sarah was the kind of student teachers loved: creative, intelligent, and always eager to learn. Her sketchbook was filled with dreams of art school and visions of a future far beyond Millbrook's city limits. But for Sarah, high school wasn't the typical coming-of-age story. Each day felt like walking through a minefield of whispered insults and cruel social media posts. The hallways echoed with snickers as she passed, and her locker often sported new, nasty messages scrawled in permanent marker. Even in the quiet of the art room, her sanctuary, Sarah couldn't escape the pit in her stomach or the constant checking of her phone, dreading the next notification. Look at freak show Sarah, probably planning her next fashion disaster, a voice would hiss as she walked to class. Another day, another jab. The words stung, each one chipping away at the confidence she once had in abundance. Sarah's once bright smile dimmed. Her shoulders hunched, as if trying to make herself invisible. At home, Sarah poured her pain onto canvas and paper. Her art became more than a hobby. It was her lifeline. Brushstrokes and pencil lines gave form to feelings she couldn't express in words. In her makeshift studio, surrounded by half-finished paintings and charcoal-smudged sketches, Sarah found moments of peace. Here, she could be herself, without fear of judgment or ridicule. As prom season approached, the excitement in Millbrook High reached fever pitch. For Sarah, it brought only dread. When the pale blue envelope appeared in her locker, her heart raced. The prom invitation sat unopened on her desk for days, a taunting reminder of everything she felt she couldn't have. Finally, with trembling hands, Sarah opened the envelope. She stared at the glittery script, imagining for a moment what it would be like to feel beautiful, to dance without care, to belong. But the voice in her head, shaped by years of torment, whispered that she didn't deserve such joy. With a heavy heart, Sarah made her decision. She wouldn't go to prom. The thought of facing her bullies, of being laughed at in a dress instead of her usual attire, was too much to bear. She told herself it was better this way, safer in her solitude with her art. Little did Sarah know, as she resigned herself to another lonely weekend, that life was about to take an unexpected turn. Sometimes, when we're at our lowest, the universe has a way of stepping in. And in Sarah's case, that intervention would come from the most unlikely source imaginable. The universe works in mysterious ways. Just as Sarah had given up hope, her story was about to reach someone who understood her pain all too well. What would drive Elon Musk, a man who could buy anything, to take interest in a high school student he'd never met? It was just another late night for Elon Musk. His eyes glazed over from hours of scrolling through Twitter. The blue light of his phone illuminated his face as he absent-mindedly flicked through posts. Suddenly, his thumb froze mid-swipe. A vibrant painting of a girl with blue hair caught his eye, but it was the caption that made his heart skip a beat. "My student Sarah is the most talented artist I've ever taught, but bullying has crushed her spirit. She won't even go to prom. Please share to show her she matters." Art Against Bullying, Sarah's art teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, had posted the tweet in a desperate attempt to lift her students' spirits. She never imagined it would catch fire the way it did. Within hours, the post had gone viral, shared by art communities, anti-bullying advocates, and even a few celebrities. But it was Elon Musk's attention that would change everything. As Elon stared at the painting, memories from his own painful childhood in South Africa came flooding back. The taunts, the physical attacks, the crushing loneliness. He knew exactly how Sarah felt. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, wanting to reach out, but hesitating. What could he possibly say that wouldn't seem empty coming from a billionaire? Elon's mind raced. He could easily write a check, set up a scholarship, or make a grand gesture. But would that really help Sarah? Would it address the root of the problem, or just put a band-aid on a deep wound? He paced his office, wrestling with how to make a meaningful difference without overstepping or making Sarah a target for more bullying. As the sun began to rise, Elon made a decision that would ripple far beyond Sarah's small town. He wouldn't just tweet support or throw money at the problem. No, Elon Musk was going to Millbrook. He wanted to meet Sarah face to face, to see her art in person, and to offer something money couldn't buy: genuine understanding and support. With a few quick calls, Elon cleared his schedule and arranged for a private jet. As he packed a small bag, he wondered how his impromptu visit might impact Sarah's life. Would she be overwhelmed, skeptical, hopeful? And how would a town like Millbrook react to a tech billionaire showing up out of the blue? Little did Elon know, his split-second decision to act on compassion was about to set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just Sarah's life, but an entire community's approach to kindness and inclusion. The real question was, how would a small-town teenager's world collide with that of one of the most powerful men on the planet? Sarah's hand trembled as she reached for the doorknob. Another casserole, she thought with a sigh. But when the door swung open, her jaw dropped. Standing on her porch, looking slightly nervous, was a face she'd only seen on TV and magazine covers. What could have brought Elon Musk to her doorstep? For a moment, Sarah froze. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of the scene before her. Was this some cruel prank? A vivid daydream brought on by too many late nights sketching? But as Elon cleared his throat and offered a hesitant, "Hello, Sarah," reality came crashing in. This was really happening. I saw your teacher's post," Elon started, his words tumbling out a bit awkwardly. "Your art, it's incredible. I hope you don't mind me dropping by like this." Sarah blinked, still struggling to form words. Here was one of the most powerful men in the world, standing on her front porch, talking about her art. The surreal nature of the moment wasn't lost on either of them. As Sarah invited him in, the atmosphere was thick with awkwardness. Elon, usually so confident in boardrooms and on stages, seemed unsure how to connect with a teenager. Sarah, still reeling from the shock, couldn't quite believe this was real. But then Elon's eyes landed on a small sketch pinned to the wall, a rough design for a futuristic spacecraft. His face lit up. "Did you draw that?" he asked, genuine interest sparking in his voice. Sarah nodded, a tiny smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Yeah, it's just a silly idea I had." "Silly? It's brilliant!" Elon exclaimed, moving closer to examine the details. "The way you've designed the thrusters, I've never seen anything quite like it." As they discussed the finer points of the sketch, the ice began to melt. Sarah's passion for her art shone through, and Elon's enthusiasm was infectious. Soon, Sarah found herself leading him to her makeshift studio, eager to show him more of her work. In that cluttered room, surrounded by canvases and the smell of paint, something magical happened. As Sarah explained her pieces, from abstract explorations of emotion to detailed sci-fi landscapes, her eyes sparkled with a light that had been dimmed for too long. Elon listened intently, asking questions and offering genuine praise. For the first time in years, Sarah felt truly seen. Not as the weird girl with blue hair, not as a target for bullies, but as an artist with ideas worth sharing. As she watched Elon examine a particularly complex piece, tracing the intricate lines with his finger, Sarah felt a warmth spreading through her chest. It was hope, fragile but undeniable. Little did Sarah know this unexpected visit was just the beginning. As Elon turned to her with a gleam in his eye and said, "Sarah, I have an idea." The wheels of change were already in motion. A simple act of kindness was about to spark a revolution that would reach far beyond the walls of her small-town home. Elon's eyes sparkled with mischief as he shared his idea. "How would you like to arrive at prom in a rocket?" he asked. Sarah's jaw dropped. Was he serious? Little did she know, this was just the tip of the iceberg. Elon's plan for her prom night would redefine what it meant to stand out and shine. As Elon outlined his vision, Sarah's eyes grew wider with each detail. This wasn't just a prom. It was a celebration of individuality and kindness. Elon wanted to transform the entire event into a showcase of creativity, where every student could express themselves freely without fear of judgment. Sarah felt a mix of excitement and terror as she listened. The idea of a prom where she could truly be herself was thrilling, but the thought of facing her bullies still sent shivers down her spine. She pictured herself walking into the school gym, all eyes on her. Would they laugh? Would they finally see her for who she really was? Over the next few weeks, Sarah threw herself into preparations. With Elon's encouragement, she designed her own dress, a stunning creation that looked like a galaxy come to life, with swirls of deep blue and purple fabric dotted with tiny LED lights. As she worked, Sarah felt her confidence growing, stitch by stitch. Word of the unique prom spread through Millbrook High like wildfire. At first, there were whispers and confused looks, but as more details emerged, something unexpected happened. The atmosphere in the school began to shift. Students who had never spoken before found themselves chatting about their outfit ideas. Even some of Sarah's former tormentors seemed caught up in the excitement. Finally, the night of the prom arrived. Sarah stood in front of her mirror, hardly recognizing the confident young woman staring back at her. Her blue hair was styled in an elaborate updo, and her galaxy dress sparkled with every movement. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever the night might bring. As Sarah stepped outside, she gasped. Parked in front of her house was a sleek silver limousine designed to look like a rocket ship. The door opened, and Elon emerged, grinning from ear to ear. "Your chariot awaits, Miss Henderson," he said with a theatrical bow. When they pulled up to the school, Sarah's heart raced. But as the limo door opened, she was greeted not by jeers, but by cheers and applause. Students crowded around, admiring her dress and the incredible vehicle. For the first time in years, Sarah felt truly seen and appreciated by her peers. As she walked into the transformed gym, arm in arm with Elon, Sarah realized that this night was more than just a prom. It was the beginning of something much bigger, a shift in the very fabric of her school and community. Little did she know, the real magic was just beginning to unfold. The morning after the prom, Sarah's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications flooded in from social media platforms she barely used. Confused, she tapped on one and gasped. A photo of her in her galaxy dress, standing next to Elon Musk's rocket limo, had gone viral overnight. But it wasn't just the spectacle that caught people's attention. Sarah's story, her journey from bullied outcast to prom night sensation, struck a chord with thousands. Comments poured in from teens across the country, sharing their own experiences with bullying and isolation. "I thought I was alone," one comment read. "Sarah's story gives me hope." As the day progressed, Sarah watched in awe as her inbox filled with messages. Students from other schools began reaching out, asking how they could create their own anti-bullying initiatives. Sarah's bravery had sparked a flame, and it was spreading fast. In Millbrook High, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Students who had once been silent bystanders now approached Sarah, sharing their own stories and apologizing for not speaking up sooner. The hallways buzzed with conversations about kindness and inclusivity. But not everyone was prepared for this sudden spotlight on bullying. School administrators across the country found themselves scrambling to address issues they had long ignored or downplayed. Some resisted, claiming it was just a passing trend. Others saw an opportunity for real change. In California, a group of high school students launched a Kindness Rocks campaign, painting positive messages on stones and hiding them around campus. In Texas, a student-led initiative created safe spaces in schools where bullied teens could find support and resources. As these grassroots movements gained momentum, celebrities and influencers took notice. Pop stars shared Sarah's story on their platforms. Athletes spoke out about their own experiences with bullying. Even politicians began to weigh in, calling for better mental health resources in schools. The conversation was growing, evolving beyond just bullying to encompass mental health, self-expression, and the power of community support. News outlets picked up the story, running segments on the Sarah effect and its impact on schools nationwide. Sarah watched it all unfold with a mix of amazement and trepidation. She had never sought the spotlight, but now found herself at the center of a national movement. As she scrolled through message after message from kids who felt seen and heard for the first time, she realized the true power of sharing her story. But as the movement gained traction, a question loomed. How would this groundswell of support and awareness translate into real, lasting change in schools and communities across the country? The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, Sarah felt hopeful about the future. Sarah's small-town story was about to go global. One ordinary morning, she opened her email to find an invitation that made her heart race. The United Nations wanted her to speak about her experience with bullying. Sarah stared at the screen, her mind reeling. How did she, a girl who once felt invisible, end up here? As Sarah's story spread, it became a catalyst for international discussions on bullying. Schools in. Japan started implementing kindness curriculums. In Brazil, students launched a nationwide campaign to create safe spaces in every school. Sarah's journey resonated across borders, languages, and cultures. But with this newfound attention came a weight Sarah wasn't sure she was ready to carry. She found herself labeled an activist, a term that felt foreign on her tongue. Sarah spent sleepless nights wondering if she was qualified to speak on behalf of bullied kids everywhere. What if she said the wrong thing? What if she let everyone down? Despite her doubts, Sarah's impact continued to grow. Countries began sharing their successful anti-bullying strategies. Finland's peer mediation program caught the attention of educators worldwide. Australia's No Way campaign inspired similar initiatives in dozens of countries. It was as if Sarah's story had opened a floodgate of compassion and action. A global youth network emerged, connecting students from New York to New Delhi. They organized virtual meetups, sharing ideas and supporting each other's local initiatives. Sarah watched in awe as teens she'd never met cited her as their inspiration for standing up to bullies and creating kinder school environments. As the movement gained momentum, whispers of something big began to circulate. World leaders were preparing to announce a major initiative. The anticipation built as education ministers from various countries held closed-door meetings. Rumors flew about a groundbreaking global approach to combat bullying. Finally, at a UN summit, the announcement came. A global fund would be established to support anti-bullying programs in schools worldwide. The fund would provide resources for training, technology, and community outreach. It was a commitment on a scale never before seen for this issue. Sarah sat in the audience, tears streaming down her face as she listened to world leaders speak about the importance of creating safe, inclusive learning environments for all children. She thought about the lonely girl she used to be, hiding in the art room during lunch. How could she have known that her pain would lead to this moment? As the applause died down and people began to file out of the auditorium, Sarah felt a mix of emotions. Pride in how far the movement had come. Hope for all the kids who would benefit from these new programs. But also a nagging question. What about Millbrook? How had all of this affected the place where it all began? Sarah realized it was time to go home and see firsthand the impact on her own community. As Sarah's car rolled into Millbrook, a strange sight caught her eye. The old abandoned factory at the edge of town, once a symbol of economic decline, now bustled with activity. Colorful banners hung from its walls, proclaiming messages of kindness and inclusion. What series of events had turned this unlikely place into a beacon of hope? Sarah soon discovered that her hometown's transformation hadn't come easily. At first, many residents met the idea of change with skepticism and resistance. "We don't need outsiders telling us how to run our town," some grumbled. Others feared that addressing bullying head-on would somehow make their community look weak. But as Sarah's story gained national attention, it became impossible to ignore the problem any longer. The school board faced mounting pressure to take action. Teachers, once hesitant to rock the boat, began speaking out about the bullying they'd witnessed. Parents who had dismissed cruel behavior as kids being kids started to question their long-held beliefs. The turning point came when a group of students inspired by Sarah's bravery, formed a kindness council. They organized meetings, created posters, and even developed a smartphone app to report bullying anonymously. Their enthusiasm was contagious, and soon even the most stubborn adults found themselves swept up in the movement. Millbrook High implemented a peer mediation program, training students to help resolve conflicts between their classmates. The results were immediate and striking. Minor disagreements that might have once escalated into full-blown bullying incidents were now being defused before they could take root. The town's efforts didn't stop at the school gates. Local businesses joined in, offering discounts to students caught performing acts of kindness. The community center started hosting weekly empathy workshops for parents and children. Even the local diner changed its menu, renaming dishes after positive character traits. As the one-year anniversary of what locals had dubbed the Kindness Revolution approached, excitement built in Millbrook. The Transform Factory was to host a town-wide celebration, showcasing art installations, live music, and speeches from students and community leaders. On the day of the event, Sarah stood on stage, looking out at the sea of familiar faces. She could hardly believe the numbers. Bullying incidents down by 70%. Student satisfaction scores at an all-time high. The once divided town had come together in ways she never thought possible. As applause filled the air, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, what would this mean for her future? And how many other communities could follow Millbrook's lead, creating a ripple effect of kindness that might just change the world. Sarah's hand trembled as she turned the key to her new dorm room. The hallway bustled with excited freshmen and teary-eyed parents. But Sarah stood alone, her blue hair a stark contrast to the beige walls. This moment felt surreal, a world away from the lonely girl who once hid in Millbrook High's art room. As she pushed open the door, memories flooded back. The relentless bullying, the viral post that caught Elon Musk's attention, the prom night that changed everything. Now, here she was, about to start her first year at one of the country's top art schools. Sarah took a deep breath, willing her old fears to stay in the past where they belonged. Unpacking her bags, Sarah's fingers brushed against a familiar sketchbook. She smiled, remembering the day Elon had flipped through its pages, his eyes widening with each turn. It was Elon who had encouraged her to apply to art school, who had written a glowing recommendation letter that made the admissions committee sit up and take notice. As Sarah arranged her art supplies on her new desk, her phone buzzed. A text from Elon. First day jitters? Remember, you've already faced tougher challenges than this. You've got this, Sarah. She grinned, grateful for his ongoing support and mentorship. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of new experiences. Sarah found herself surrounded by other creative minds, people who saw the world in vibrant colors and bold lines just like she did. But old habits die hard, and Sarah sometimes caught herself shrinking back in class, afraid to share her ideas. It was during one of these moments of self-doubt that Sarah's professor assigned a major project: create an installation that reflects personal growth. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. This was her chance to tell her story, to show how far she'd come. For weeks, Sarah worked tirelessly on her installation. She poured her heart into every brush stroke, every sculpted piece. The art studio became her second home, often working late into the night as her vision took shape. Finally, the day of the unveiling arrived. Sarah's heart pounded as she stood before her covered installation. Students and faculty filled the gallery, their eyes curious and expectant. With shaking hands, Sarah pulled away the cloth. Gasps filled the room. Sarah's installation was a massive swirling vortex of color and light. At its center, a small, shadowy figure slowly emerged into a burst of vibrant hues. Delicate threads connected this central piece to smaller works around it, each representing a moment of kindness or support that had helped Sarah grow. As Sarah explained her work, her voice grew stronger. She spoke of isolation, of fear, but also of hope and the power of compassion. By the time she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Her professor, usually stoic, wiped away a tear as he praised her bravery and artistic vision. That night, as Sarah sat on her dorm room bed, she felt a sense of peace she'd never known before. She had faced her fears, shared her truth, and found acceptance. But as she drifted off to sleep, a new question formed in her mind. How could she use her art to help others find their voice? While Sarah's story continued to inspire millions, a young girl in Brazil named Maria was about to discover its power. As she scrolled through her social media feed one afternoon, a colorful image caught her eye. It was a mural of Sarah's galaxy dress, painted on the side of a school building halfway across the world. Maria clicked on the post, her curiosity piqued. As she read about Sarah's journey from bullied outcast to global inspiration, Maria felt a spark of recognition. She too had faced cruel taunts and exclusion at school. But Sarah's story awakened something in Maria, a fierce determination to speak up and make a change. The next day, Maria nervously approached her teacher with an idea for an anti-bullying campaign. To her surprise, her teacher not only listened, but embraced the concept wholeheartedly. Within weeks, Maria's school had implemented a peer support program, inspired by the one Sarah had helped create in Millbrook. Meanwhile, Sarah's impact continued to grow beyond her wildest dreams. With Elon Musk's support, she established the Kindness Ripple Foundation, dedicated to funding anti-bullying initiatives around the globe. From rural villages in India to bustling cities in Europe, schools began implementing programs that taught empathy, conflict resolution, and the power of inclusivity. But maintaining momentum in the fight against bullying proved challenging. Some critics argued that the Sarah effect was just a passing trend, destined to fade like so many viral sensations before it. Others claimed that bullying was an inevitable part of growing up, impossible to truly eradicate. Sarah and her team refused to be discouraged. They worked tirelessly to develop a comprehensive curriculum that could be adapted to different cultures and age groups. The Empathy in Action program combined art therapy, role-playing exercises, and community service projects to help students develop emotional intelligence and compassion. As the years passed, researchers began to take notice of the widespread changes occurring in schools that had embraced Sarah's approach. A team of psychologists and sociologists embarked on an ambitious 10-year study to measure the long-term effects of these anti-bullying initiatives. The anticipation built as the decade-long research project neared its conclusion. Educators, policymakers, and parents around the world eagerly awaited the results. Would the data support the anecdotal evidence of positive change? Finally, the day arrived. The research team released their findings, and the results were nothing short of remarkable. schools that had implemented Sarah-inspired programs showed a significant decrease in bullying incidents, up to 60% in some cases. Even more striking was the improvement in overall student mental health, with rates of anxiety and depression dropping by nearly 40%. As news of the study spread, Sarah found herself overwhelmed with emotion. The lonely girl who once hid in the art room had sparked a global transformation. But as she reflected on the incredible journey, one question lingered. What powerful lesson could everyone take away from this extraordinary chain of events? As Sarah's story rippled across the globe, it became clear that kindness wasn't just a feel-good concept. It was a powerful force for change. One small act, like Elon Musk showing up at Sarah's door, had set off a chain reaction that transformed lives, schools, and entire communities. The lesson was simple, yet profound. Every person has the power to make a difference. It doesn't take billions of dollars or worldwide fame. Sometimes, all it takes is a moment of compassion, a willingness to reach out to someone in need. As you finish watching this video, think about the Sarah in your life. Is there someone who could use a kind word, a helping hand, or just a friendly smile? Don't wait. Be the spark that starts the next wave of positive change. Your small act of kindness today could be the beginning of something extraordinary.